Hey guys, welcome back. It's Neon. I'm here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we thought we wouldn't have anything to talk about today.
Yeah.
But we've got a lot of things to talk about today. So, Comic-Con news is still coming out days after the event ended.
Yep.
And the big talk of Comic-Con, the biggest talk of Comic-Con, I think, was them bringing Natalie Portman back as Thor, the female Thor, which didn't set well with a lot of people.
I just didn't like her in other Thor movies. I thought she couldn't act worth spit. But that's just me. I mean, another movie she's done that she hasn't been so bad, but I thought she was terrible in Thor. But anyway, go ahead.
This is how they got her back. They're like, hey, we're gonna make you Thor. How about that? Why don't you come back? Because she was not in Ragnarok. But there's an ongoing theme of this year's Comic-Con between the casting of Natalie Portman as female Thor and the focus on female creators, and even the Eisners being accused of being misogynistic.
Of course, everybody's misogynistic anymore. Everybody is, because unless you say you everything's female.
The future is female.
Unless everything is female, it's misogyny. But I have some things to say about this article because I was rather miffed.
Okay, so Geeky's got some things to say.
I got some things to say.
So before we get into the video, if you guys have not subscribed already, please do so. It helps the channel immensely, and we've been growing like crazy over the last couple months. We want to keep the momentum up. We want to hit 100,000 fishies in the reef.
That's right.
So subscribe to help us do that. So Geeky read through this article.
Well, I kind of skimmed through it, but it was enough to piss me off.
It was enough. The skimming was enough to piss you off.
It was.
Okay, so women creatives. This is coming out of Variety, mainstream news outlet.
Right. I'm going to mention that, but go ahead.
Women creatives, fans at Comic-Con rise up against culture of misogyny.
Because don't you know everything's misogyny anymore? I mean, there's true misogyny, and then there's everything else that they keep labeling as misogyny when it's not. There is a difference. Does misogyny exist? Yes. Is it everything they're saying? Hell no. So we're going to talk, and I'm also a woman, so spin your brain around that. But okay, so they're talking about the presence of female creators and actresses and stuff throughout this year, and the feminine undercurrents that are reshaping the geek landscape weren't just displayed on stage. It was also evident in the legions of fans dressed like everyone. From, is it Brienne of Tarth, Game of Thrones, and Gwen Stacy. This is normal. Comic-Con, comic conventions, there are often women dressed as characters that come to the events. That is not a new thing. It is not. Why do they keep saying this like it's a new thing? They're the kind of empowered, fully realized characters that have helped shatter glass ceilings that they made.
Before we go any further, who's the lady who's writing the? Oh, Matt Donnelly.
That's right. Look, yeah.
Matt Donnelly, a man, a white man.
He's making sure women know that he knows his place. Anyway. Okay. So they're talking about this year was the 50th year of San Diego Comic-Con. But then they're talking about, here's where they're getting into their misogyny. Just ahead of Comic-Con, Terminator Dark Fate director Tim Miller spoke with Variety about the negative feedback to marketing images from his new film, which proudly displayed female leads. Terminator has often had powerful female leads in the whole way through. The reason people got pissed was because they led with, if you're a misogynist, you won't like this movie. So preemptively, they are trying to tell you that you will like it. If you do not like it, you are a misogynist. And they're also trying to say if it bombs, it's because of misogyny. That's what we're mad about.
Yeah, because, I mean, if they had just put it out there like, hey, we're bringing everybody back. We're bringing Linda Hamilton back.
Right.
We're bringing Arnold Schwarzenegger back. We're even bringing freaking Eddie Furlong back for this new Terminator movie. I think people probably would have been more on board with it than, hey, look, it's a female Terminator, and if you hate her, you hate women, even though there was a female Terminator in Terminator 3.
Right, and Linda Hamilton in the first movie was like, she in the second one too.
Like the original.
Oh my God.
One of the original female. I mean, between Hamilton and Sigourney Weaver. Yeah, like, I mean, they were female action stars in huge box office successes.
Yeah.
30 years ago.
The takeaway is people do not hate strong female characters in Terminator. They haven't hated it before. That isn't the issue here. The issue here is immediately as you release the trailer, the first talks were, if you're a misogynist, you won't like this. Places like Variety and the media do more damage and cause more of this crap than anybody else. These places with their hot takes on problems that don't even exist, or if they do exist, they're such a small percentage, it's not even worth mentioning. They're to stir controversy, and then they say, look, it's like somebody, you've probably been in this situation before. Somebody deliberately pushes your buttons on purpose so that when you get mad, they're like, look how mean they are to me. Look at
poking the bear.
So they're deliberately doing that. So they go with that, for example.
I gotta read this.
Okay,
I gotta read this sentence because this is so ridiculous. Anonymous social media users and self-branded manly film sites decry the images as politically correct pandering, arguing that the filmmakers were betraying the testosterone-fueled original Arnold Schwarzenegger series. Some compared the film to Paul Feig's maligned female reboot of Ghostbusters, while one blogger complained that when studios go woke, they go broke. Cite that, but a lot of people are saying that.
I'm just saying, but I'm just like, where are these examples of this? It's probably true about the Ghostbusters, but the Ghostbusters was a shitty movie.
Well,
I'm sorry.
It wasn't just that Ghostbusters was a shitty movie, and that's the thing. Where the comparison is very, very accurate is what they led with. It wasn't like, let's put the movie out here. It's a good movie, and oh, by the way, it features women. It was like, this movie features women, and if you don't like it, you're a misogynist.
Yeah,
so a lot of people are like, we're not even gonna. There was one film critic on YouTube, and I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, but he flat out said because Ghostbusters meant so much to him, the original, he was not going to go see the remake. They called him a misogynist. He's like, it had nothing to do with the fact that there were 4 women in the lead. He's like, I don't want to see a remake of Ghostbusters.
Well, that's actually the biggest comment I saw when that whole fiasco was going on was, I don't think we needed another Ghostbusters. That was what people were saying. It wasn't, there were people who were mad about women. Mostly, like, I was like one of those people, I wasn't mad about all being women, but I was like, why do we have to do it all one way or another? Why can't we just do a mixed cast? Because mixed casts usually work better.
Well, that's what was talked about
as far as a story goes. And it was more like, why are we doing this? But most people's complaint was, we don't need another Ghostbusters film. But places like Variety, and other, these media outlets are going around making things an issue that they weren't actually an issue about, and changing what the real problems are. And like you said, if these movies would start out with like, hey, we're doing a new movie, here's our trailer, here's what it's about, and make it about the film and making a good film, and not about the fact that we're immediately leading with, if you don't like it, you're a misogynist. Misogynists won't like this film. They're already trying to make it an excuse for themselves if it fails. But they're going to cause it to fail by being dumb and doing that right off. Terminator's always been strong female.
Yes, there's always been a strong female lead in Terminator. Similar instances, I love this. Similar instances of aggression or closet misogyny, as Miller called it, crept in several times over last week's convention. Closet misogyny. Geeky,
right.
You're a closet.
No, I can't because I'm a woman. You cannot say a woman as a misogynist.
Yes, you can. They do.
I know, but that's absolute garbage.
This
you
is
can't.
what I mean.
They're all misandrous, but they're not closet misandrous. They're misandrous.
This is what gets me about all this. Again, this goes back to acting like this is new. We've had strong female leads in successful box office hits. Again, going back to Alien, going back to Terminator. Mm-hmm. For years, Star Wars, you could argue Princess Leia.
There's no argument there. She was.
Yeah, but I'm like, for years, even in comics, they think it's something new to have an African American woman leading a team or being the lead in the comic. When at one point in time, and we talked about this before, one point in time we had a black woman leading the Avengers and a black woman leading the X-Men at the same time. Mm-hmm. In the late 1980s, both teams were led by black women.
And no one thought anything of it.
30 years ago. Well,
it's so nice of the Black Panther to do so well so it could pave the way to films like Blade.
Yeah, right.
Someone made that comment. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah, exactly. This is not new. And these media outlets like Variety are playing this narrative probably for hits. But what they're doing is they are creating the damage that's coming to these films. They're causing the damage. And then they're sitting back and yelling about misogyny. I'm like, but you guys were the ones who made it an issue when it wasn't, and then you're whining when it doesn't do well and then yell misogyny. So there's no way you can win in this situation.
You're basically preemptively, it's kind of like I see people do this all the time. It's that self-deprecation, like, oh, well, you're going to hate it anyway, so whatever. And then that's what they're doing. They're preemptively setting these films up to fail by assuming the audience is going to hate it because it has a female lead. It also shows that you don't have enough faith in the product to let it succeed or fail on its own
just
merits.
Make good movies. Don't base it on pandering. Just base it on good movies. And like, this movie didn't have to be promoted the way it's been promoted. So and then they have to get in here about Noel Stevenson. One such creator protecting her character. This week was Noelle Stevenson, a 27-year-old animation phenom.
Can we stop that right there? Protecting her character. Again, This is the story. Noelle Stevenson invented She-Ra.
Oh, they mentioned she re-envisioned, but it's her character. It's her version. Protecting her version of a popular character would be more close to the reality. But I still love this. A 27-year-old animation phenom.
She literally just fell into animation. She worked in comics briefly.
Yeah.
And then she fell into animation. She's only been in animation for like 2 or 3 years.
She wrote on a couple stuff in part of a group. But she's an animation phenom because she ruined She-Ra. Anyway, she was hired to re-envision the beloved 80s character She-Ra. Stevenson's She-Ra and the Princess of Power, adapted from the Masters of the Universe series by DreamWorks Animation for Netflix, has faced backlash to the updated visual take, specifically around She-Ra's body.
That's not...
No.
The issue. That is some of the issue, but the issue is... Again, that they're acting like She-Ra is a new creation. She-Ra existed 30 plus years ago. She-Ra was very progressive for its time, and they're acting like it's like they took this, victimized woman and pulled her out of the muck and cleaned her up and said, "Here, now we're gonna make her a positive female role model."
Right,
when
she always was a positive female role model. I'll tell you about her body. You know what? I'm one of those people who had a problem with it. I'm a woman. You know what? There was a lot of women who didn't like the way they've redone She-Ra. It is not just men. It is not just misogyny. Just because I don't like the design doesn't make me misogynist. I don't like the design. I think the show went from being, it had like themes and it was 80s cheese, but it had it was more dangerous than the new show. It was more action-packed than the new show. The new show is so, I want to puke. It's just like, friendship rainbows, horses and pillow fights and princess prom. That is what killed She-Ra more than the body style.
Yeah, and She-Ra, the original, and we could go down this road again, but she was a complete badass in the original. She was a freaking horde soldier, like an actual threat. She was
not like now where I'm trained as a soldier, but let's have a pillow fight.
She had a freaking laser cannon in her bedroom.
Right.
So she could just wake up in the middle of the night and shoot people if she felt like it.
Right.
Come on. She was a badass.
It gets better. In the original 1985 television series from Filmation, She-Ra was rendered in Barbie-esque proportions as a buxom blonde with a cinched waist. No, that is not what happened, dumbass. If you actually read see the movie on Netflix talking about the history of He-Man and She-Ra, that is not what happened. It was actually women who designed her. Go ahead, what were you going to say?
No, I was going to say that, the women designed her, but they wanted to stay away from the Barbie-esque proportions. They said, let's thicken her up a little bit. Let's not
make her look like a model.
Right, let's make her look more athletic because she's going to be more muscular. And, women had a huge input into She-Ra, and they're making this out like men created She-Ra to fap to.
And that's not what happened.
They
just knew there was a lot of girls watching He-Man, and they liked Tila a lot, and they liked He-Man a lot, so they wanted to make a series that was about, a spin-off for girls that was like the same vein of He-Man, but for girls. And the toys were deliberately made to be not as attractive, and even the character, she wasn't that cinched of a waist. It was a normal body type, more of a muscular body type, but she wasn't like, they make her out like she looks like, Jessica Rabbit or something, and that's not what happened at all.
No, and she was, She-Ra was designed kind of by committee back in the 80s
Well, it gets better. Stevenson's take, which is aimed at young female audience. No, it's not. It's aimed at Tumblr. It's about an orphan named Adora whose magical sword transformed her to a warrior princess, like the original. Many men and a decent amount of women decried the change, saying the character appeared androgynous. No, the characters look stupid. She looks androgynous. She looks like a dude. Some of the more hateful reactions were transphobic. Okay, where? Why? Because what's transphobia have to do with She-Ra?
Because people said that looked like Ben 10 in drag.
But she does look like Ben 10 in drag. I'm sorry.
There were many comics and many comments about that she looked like Ben 10 in drag and not actually.
Well, this is interesting.
She-Ra.
This is interesting. Her comment here. This kind of goes against other things she said, but she didn't really know about it. It's something I was prepared for, especially since the 80s property has nostalgia around it, she told Variety. We've seen this play out time and time again. Of course, there's going to be shocked that there's a change being made to something that's such a part of the zeitgeist. Really? Here's the next thing. I thought in other comments, she's like, I really didn't hear much about the Backlash. There wasn't much of it. That's what she said in other interviews, and now she's like, I was prepared for it. Make up your damn mind. They knew changing your stories.
They knew exactly what they were doing.
Yeah.
I can't believe that they live in such a bubble they knew exactly what they were doing with this. You know, they knew how big of a deal. But when you've got the original voice actress of She-Ra, Melanie Britt, coming out and saying how dishonest the marketing was around this show, I mean, you would think they'd call her up, even be like, "Do you want to come on as a guest spot?"
No, she's not. They didn't even bring up Larry DiTillio, who pretty much was one of the two dads of She-Ra in general. But, you know, the real dads, not, you know, the appropriator. And they didn't mention that until they could use it to market the damn show.
Yeah, I mean, it's been there are bigger issues with She-Ra than her body change. You know, and again, it's a lot of it is just the clear disgust that the people working on the show seem to have for the classic. You know, maybe not Stevenson herself, but the marketing team and the PR team for sure.
Right, and
have disdain for the original.
This again comes back to what we're talking about with this Variety article. Is the fact that the media has done more damage to these things by calling people names and just like all this like wild poop fleeing, because it's not even about real news anymore. It's about who they can hire cheap and their personal political opinions. There's been more damage done by the media than there ever has by the show. And like the one person said, you know, or she said that they tried to keep the show positive. I believe that if people gave it a shot, whether or not they're going to do it, they're doing it as hate watch or not, they would find something to like about it. Well, there are a couple things, but not much. Another goal of the redesigns, even said, was to create a character young girls could emulate and identify with. Because, you know, as a young girl, I couldn't emulate and identify with She-Ra, even though I did. They emulate and identify with, as opposed to creating unrealistic beauty standards for an impressionable audience. You know what? I was a fat kid. When I was younger. You know, they didn't give me unrealistic beauty standards. It didn't make me feel like, oh shit, I am a terrible person. I'm ugly as sin because She-Ra's pretty and I'm not.
You can only be Glimmer. You'll never be She-Ra.
Oh wait, let's go ahead and bring up that. So there was an article on The Gamer, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's basically talking about Mattel has given She-Ra the Barbie treatment, a new action figure line. So they go down here, and where I was going to mention was they're down here. We're talking about 8 months later. They're finally getting action figures. They're dolls.
They're not calling them. No, they said right here. Each is about Barbie size, but don't call them dolls. They're action figures.
They're Barbies. Anyway, revealed in a recent tweet were 6 sets of figures. So they go on here talking about they're fairly faithful to the show except for Swiftwind. Yeah, that looks terrible. And Glimmer, who's much taller and thinner. And they go on about the tweets about people saying about bring back chubby Glimmer, make Glimmer chubby, you know, blah, blah, blah. We deserve chunky Glimmer, not this, and so on and so on. But when you go down here, this is what I thought was funny. So they're talking about unrealistic beauty standards for impressionable audience, right? We're talking about that first. So let's go to this article. Thin Glimmer is a real step backward for Mattel. The entire point of stockier character in She-Ra was to show young girls that you don't need to be thin to be A, attractive, B, have magic powers, or C, kick some serious bootay. Why is the first thing that they list attractiveness? You should teach young girls that they can have magic powers, kick booty, and you know, don't worry about how they look. Because no. The first thing they named was attractiveness. But no, that's the antithesis of what they said they were doing.
Because being heavier automatically means you're ugly.
Yeah, according to whom? And the thing is here, they're talking about how they're trying to get away from the whole buxom blonde and beauty and everything else. So young girls, you know that doesn't matter. The first thing this person writes in the article was that, you know, you don't have to be thin to be pretty. Doesn't it go against everything that they were talking about? Everything they were talking about in the other article and everything they're supposed to be changing She-Ra for was so the girls knew they didn't have to be super pretty.
Right.
But no.
I just want to point this out real quick and then we'll move on. So Glimmer, skinny Glimmer, who everyone's complaining about, I think she looks like Beverly Goldberg.
She does. Someone needs to get on that and make a custom.
Make a custom. She looks, her hair and her face looks like Beverly Goldberg. Okay, but let's go back to the.
Okay, so anyway, I'm just saying that was kind of the antithesis. Everything they in one thing they're saying one breath they're saying one thing, and the next breath they're saying something else. So how long does this go on about She-Ra?
They're almost done. They're basically talking about how Stevenson just wanted to wear her sneakers and tie a cape around her neck and run around. So that explains the boots.
But so did other kids. You know what? When I was a kid, I was Wonder Woman. You know what I did put on? I put a blanket or towel around my neck and ran around. I didn't think I needed, Mama dear, please go make me a lame cape so I can look beautiful as I run around being She-Ra. Like any other kid, put my ratty shorts and my sneakers on, stuck like clip in my hair, put a towel around my neck, and look, boom, Wonder Woman, She-Ra, whatever. That's normal.
What they keep trying to do, just in general, and we see this a lot with comic book characters too, is they're trying to make superheroes into everyday people. They're trying to make them you know, I hate to say it, but they're trying to make like a lot of these people just like schlubs, just like the rest of us. And the whole point of the superhero, of the hero story is usually they're much more than we are, you know. And like Superman, like I don't want Superman to be some fat middle-aged schlub. I want him to be Superman, you know, something to aspire to, not.
That's what they are. They're bringing it down supposedly for kids a lot of times, but actually dumbing it down does not make it for children. My gosh.
So now we're finally over She-Ra. So this guy's basically
he has a hard on for She-Ra.
Yeah, it's just like this guy is just, and this is a guy. I gotta remind you guys, this is a guy writing the article. Some people seem more receptive to the changes taking place. Marvel Studios brought 2 female directors in during its Hall H panel for Eternals and Black Widow to great fanfare. They're probably excited there was a Black Widow movie.
Yeah, you know what? And the thing is,
time.
There have been female directors before. They, you know, what's her name at the
Patty Jenkins.
Yeah, Wonder Woman. I mean, she did a kick-ass job, and you know, she didn't make it about pandering.
They did.
Amazing.
When Wonder Woman came out, they did not make that big of a deal about one that it was Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm. You know, it wasn't like the trailer for Wonder Woman wasn't like.
I mean, the hero.
Wonder Woman. You know, it wasn't. It was just like, hey, we're making a Wonder Woman movie, and by the way, it's Patty Jenkins, and they make a big deal about that either. Like the movie came out, it did really well, and they didn't even play up the fact that it was a female director until after the movie came out.
And it did well.
And then she got a hell of a raise too, from what I understand.
She better, because she did a great job, and she did made a good movie that was female positive without being pushed down your throat.
Right. The Roman Twitter feeds around the world also exploded when Thor: Love and Thunder director Taika Waititi announced that the franchise star Natalie Portman would return for her third sequel to the original. This time she's not just playing a love interest. Instead, she'll wield the hammer for a female version of Thor from the comic series that imagines the god of thunder as a woman.
I'm just like, the name's stupid.
This is true. This is true. Many of the creators and fans Variety spoke with on the ground in San Diego blamed the media for playing up the response by online trolls because it makes for inflammatory headlines.
Yes.
Just like you're doing right now.
Just like this article.
While it's true that some stories are getting undue attention for outlets in search of clickbait, some instances of abuse or bullying deserve to be exposed.
Oh, yeah.
This article is clickbait, and you're hoping that people will take the bait. That's what we're saying. Like, we've been saying. The media in the last couple of years, because it seems like the numbers are declining on these blogs. Mm-hmm. So to get the numbers up, you attack the fans because it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. And really the movies wind up being the casualty because
they are the TV shows that take a hit.
People stop supporting the shows because outlets like Variety write bullshit articles like this one that get people worked up, and then they stop supporting a show or a comic book or whatever, and it's like, you guys are part of the problem.
Right, like, for example, the She-Ra fiasco. I mean, I don't like the show. You're allowed to like it, you're allowed not to like it. The second season was better than the first season. I'm not a big fan of the show. However, I think a lot of the backlash has more to do with how the fans were treated by the media and calling them, you know, calling the show campy and calling them misogynist and calling them all kinds of names, than it is because of the show itself. You know what I'm saying? It's just these blogs are just doing more damage. And this person, some instances, you know, deserve to be exposed. Yes, like this instance of bullying and abuse, like this article, deserve to be exposed. Because you know what? You're not citing, here, where are these instances? Where is it cited? Here is a tweet. Here is whatever to prove what I'm saying. Where is it?
Yeah, and here they're bringing up the Kelly Marie Tran instance again. I don't know exactly what happened there, but I've heard that she left on her own, not that she was bullied off of Instagram or Twitter.
But people were bullying her. That's not okay either. Okay. And we've always said that, you know, harassing people like that, you know, when they're just the actor, that's not okay either. I will never agree with that either. But you know, they turned it into stuff it wasn't, and then because a small group of people did something they shouldn't have done, now they're labeling everybody who doesn't like something as that far group, and that's not fair.
No, so let me get this straight. So they write this article. This guy writes this article,
slamming people. Is that who did it?
Yeah, slamming people, and then we get to the end of it.
Love the hair.
And they said that you realize women are going to go out and buy tickets to Comic-Con, because they talked about how Comic-Con was kind of infested, I guess, with Twilight fans, and people weren't happy about that. We got to pay attention to them. You cannot dwell on the no and the toxic negativity, Hardwick concluded. Every door is being kicked open now.
Kicked open by what? It was already open. That's like okay, you have a door, it's already unlocked and open, and you go in there, slam it shut, lock it, slam it shut, and then kick it in and be like, look, I just kicked the door down. It was already open.
it's again, not to beat the dead unicorn, but She-Ra was progressive in the 80s.
It's progressive now if you look back at it.
Even more so, I think, than the new She-Ra. We had, African American women leading the X-Men and the Avengers in the 1980s. We had strong female action heroes in Sarah Connor, and in Alien. We had those back in the 80s. Ripley, she was kick-ass. Back in the 80s, Princess Leia, she was kick-ass.
Back in the 80s.
30 years ago. Like, you guys completely missed decades of progress.
How many female editors were at Marvel and DC over the years and stuff like that were in charge, you know?
We had a woman running DC Comics for decades.
Right.
Decades.
So it's like you guys are breaking glass ceilings. What you're doing is there was no ceiling there. You put glass over the opening and said, look, we broke it. It wasn't there to begin with. Like I said, kicking down doors. Literally the doors were already open. You shut the door, locked the door, and kicked it in just to say you invented kicking in doors. I mean, this is ridiculous.
You know what I think it is? I think it's almost like, I almost feel like, again, this comes back to, like, I guess kind of an ageist point of view, but I really feel like, because
they need pats on the back?
Yeah, they need to have some great accomplishment for this generation, but a lot of the things that they're trying to accomplish have already been accomplished.
Well, that's what happens when you have a generation of participation award winners.
Yeah.
I have to accomplish something. I have to look like I did something big, so I'm just going to make up that I did something big, which somebody I'm not going to mention has been caught doing that many times. But anyway.
Right, but I'm just saying, yeah, that seems to be the attitude, because a lot of these accomplishments that they're giving themselves pats on the back for have already been done.
Yeah, they aren't an accomplishment.
It's actually regressive to go back and say, to throw shade at people who have already done it. Okay?
Yeah.
And then to act like you're doing it. Like you said,
but they're not doing anything new. You're just reinventing. You're just like throwing a different tread on a tire and saying, "Look, I created tires."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's all you're doing. And it's like you've done nothing.
Taking fire from somebody else's camp and saying that you were the one that discovered fire.
But I put a little bit of mineral on it to make it a little bit blue. So,
yeah.
But now it's all different. I invented it.
The all different, all new blue fire.
Because red fire's for misogynists, like redheads, which is why we have to get rid of them.
Red's like Republicans.
So
red hair's like Republicans. That's why we have to get rid of them all. And red fire's bad.
I'm just like, this article, when I first read it, I was actually really mad right off in the beginning. And I'm a woman, because as a woman, I find it offensive that they keep acting like these new things to just give women power. And I'm like, this is not true. This is not true. And if you don't like something as a female or a male, you're a misogynist. I don't like it because it's stupid and it's already been done. Do new things. Create new things.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just seemed to be the par for the course. And I'll just throw this in here too, because we're talking about San Diego Comic-Con, and now the Mary Sue is throwing shade at the Eisner Awards, which take place, at Comic-Con every year, saying that old men and alcohol and a microphone equal an awkward time because men.
Well, did they say something they shouldn't have said?
Yeah, they said sexist and racist jokes were all over the place this year. They said it's not the winners of this year's Eisner Comic Awards that were the problem. It's that the day after the awards were given out, those who attended were talking more about what went wrong with the ceremony than who won in any category. Complaints included an ill-considered joke about ICE agents coming from Mad Magazine, cartoonist Sergio Aragones, multiple presenters complaining about the difficulty they had with some nominees' names, and commentary about how easy the convention has to be for hot girls. Perhaps it's time for a rethink before next year's awards. I have to wonder what Will Eisner would actually think of the Eisner Awards, because he was an incredibly talented cartoonist, but he was also a business person. Like, he was a hell of a business person. So the
Eisners are a joke anyway.
Yeah, they are. It's the Eisners are a big circle jerk for publishers, and but it's like, I mean, everything here. All the announcements at Comic-Con, and now we're even talking about the Eisners are getting a lot of flack for some of the jokes, and it's weird because the Eisners have always been, at least in recent years, very, very progressive.
Oh, so next year it's going to be even more progressive because they have to show that they are not what the Mary Sue says they are.
Yeah.
So they have to go pick people, even if they don't deserve to win, just because, for points.
So
they deserve to win. That's totally different.
Yeah, so hopefully the Eisners can course correct next year.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they're trying to do.
Course correct.
Next, they're trying to do is they're trying to make sure that the people are picked the way they want them to be picked. They're going to bully it into who the choices are.
Yeah. Well, because they had like Lion Forge, which again, what wins at the Eisners and what actually sells, it used to be that the two were kind of hand in hand. Like Eisner winning books would also be commercial successes too, like Smile, 10 years ago. It was kind of like, oh, it's a really good book. It won Eisners, therefore.
Also done by a woman.
Will Eisner's agent, a woman. Just want to put that out there.
Right.
Too.
Yes, but women just are now getting into things.
And she's been an agent for like 20 or 30 years. Anyway, it's funny though, because a lot of the books that are getting picked up are not commercially viable books. And like Lion Forge, we saw Lion Forge had to merge with Oni just to survive. But again, this is about giving the right people a platform. More than even sales. And this is kind of what's going on with comics now, is nobody's really interested in selling comic books anymore. Even with the movies, like they make these movie announcements and you have to wonder if they're interested in actually getting people to the movie theater anymore. So the industry, the comic book industry, and I think the movie industry is going to follow suit. It's become less about commercial viability and more about backpats and high fives. Now what was really funny, and I'm not gonna, I'm not pointing this out to make fun of the comic, because I actually do think Jen Wang's pretty talented, but they talk about how the Prince and the Dressmaker, the genderqueer graphic novel The Prince and the Dressmaker, won an Eisner. If you go down to the comments, somebody said, yeah, they saw it in the dollar bin. They saw it in the dollar bin. I can't find it. Oh, here.
It's not about.
Slightly related. Eisner Award winning. Prince and the Dressmaker is a wonderfully charming read. When Books A Million had their dollar book sale, it was between that one and another book, which I was gonna get.
Wait, their dollar book, and you were debating which one to get?
Yeah, because the checkout line was long. I started reading it and managed to finish it before my turn arrived. I liked it so much, not only did I still buy it for $1, I used the $1 on the other book and paid full price for it.
They said it's good. But the point is, it's like, I don't care if things win because they're good. And that's just what I'm saying. I don't care, about, all women casts or, LGBTQ representation or all that in a movie, as long as the movie's really good and the characters are good and that's not the focus. The focus is the good movie. What I have a problem with is actually a disservice to women, a disservice to people of color, a disservice to, LGBTQ people and stuff, is when you're using that as a selling point on a movie and you're calling people names preemptively because they're not even going to give it a chance. It might be a good movie with good characters and people aren't going to give it a chance because you already put them off. You're basically telling them that there's something wrong with them and you have to correct them before they even go. You know what I mean? Yeah. And representation has been done well for years and people don't care. They want a good show, a good movie, good characters that happen to be these things. If your main focus is you're a woman, then that's sad. That's sad for you. I'm just saying, it's sad for Hollywood.
Yeah, and that's really where we're going. And I'm like, you do want these movies to make money, so alienating more than half your audience by making stupid comments and writing articles like this Variety. I mean, I think it's funny, Matt Donnelly halfway through the articles, like, well, it is true that some of these outlets write these clickbait articles.
As he writes clickbait articles.
Yeah, and stoke the fires as he's doing it himself. And Variety carries more weight than, like, Joe Blow's blog.
Right. And then here,
Variety.
And then, the whole point is, there was a lot of women at Comic-Con. There are always a lot of women at Comic-Con. They've been for years. Yeah. Stop acting like women are just now waking up to the fact that things are for them, because that's not true either. That's disservice to women. Stop it. Stop it. That's my closet misogyny. Yeah, they'll tell me the man will tell me I'm a closet misogynist because as a woman I'm just like, stop it. Just stop.
Well, we're going to stop this video because I can't top that. So please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants here on Clownfish TV.
Bye.
Goodbye. Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.